The Caveman's Valentine, a 2001 American mystery drama directed by Kasi Lemmons, starring Samuel Jackson, based on the George Dawes Green 1994 novel of the same name, featuring a screenplay by one George Dawes Green. This film tells the story of a former family man and pianist, Romulus Ledbetter, who now suffers from paranoid schizophrenia and lives in a cave in New York, where he believes that a man is controlling the world with rays from the top of the Chrysler Building. And on Valentine's Day, Romulus discovers the frozen body of a young man left in a tree outside his cave. This film also stars Colm Feore as David Leppenraup, André Ellis, a very young André Ellis, Tamara Tooney, a very lovely Tamara Tooney, and Magnuson, Jeff Gittes, and Anthony Michael Hall as the straight guy.
Yeah.
In The Caveman's Valentine, Vincent's Audible for tonight's episode of the Micheaux Mission. Vincent, what say you of The Caveman's Valentine?
Well, I like a big swing. I like a big swing. I like when a director takes a chance. And for someone like Kasi Lemmons, this film is very much her taking a big swing and taking a chance. As he mentioned, Kasi Lemmons is probably most famous for, and certainly in 2001, this is true, she directed the already iconic, by 2001, Eve's Bayou. And frankly, she very easily could have stayed in that pocket.
Yeah.
Like Kasi Lemmons could have directed sort of Black rural period pieces for the next 2 or 3 films. And, quite honestly, I would have been happy with it because, Eve's Bayou is one of my favorite films, and the acting and the sets and the storytelling and everything about it, I think she could have stayed there. And The Caveman's Valentine is almost completely opposite. It is set in contemporary New York. It has a decidedly mixed cast.
Yes.
And it is a more straight ahead murder mystery. And it is a big swing that, look, not to bury the lead, I think ultimately it is a miss.
Yeah.
Like she swings and she misses. And it's a shame because there are parts of this film that I like. There are aspects of this film that I like. As you mentioned, Samuel Jackson plays this character Romulus, who is a classic pianist who at some point before the film has started has had some type of psychotic break. And he lives in this cave in the park. And the real sort of fanciful conceit of the film is that he hallucinates. So as he says, Stuyvesant is this boogeyman who he thinks is controlling him, and there's the tower there's this large building in New York that Romulus says that he sees Y rays and eventually Z rays that are trying to control us, and they're different lights. And perhaps the most fantastical element, in his mind, he imagines what he calls moth seraphs. Yeah. Which are Black men with these almost butterfly wings that he has flying around in his head. And these are the moments when his hallucinations are being sort of dramatized, that I think we see a bit of the Kasi Lemmons from Eve's Bayou. Yeah. Where it is fanciful, it is fantastical, there's a bit of lyricism there, all of that you see within his imagination. And that part I enjoy. Like every time that Romulus imagined things, I enjoyed it a great deal. Samuel Jackson, I think this is a nice speed for Samuel Jackson. Like, Samuel Jackson is someone who I think by 2001, he's very quickly becoming what I always felt with Samuel Jackson, where he's like an inadvertent star. Mm-hmm. Like, I think Samuel Jackson really is an actor. And you know, this Romulus character who is struggling with mental health challenges and kind of oscillates between charming but also a little dangerous.
Yes, most definitely.
You know, and I think Samuel, you know, it's almost like Gator from Jungle Fever's cousin. Mm-hmm. And I like him. You know, I like that, just the specific performance of Romulus. Speaking of Romulus has a family. As you mentioned, Ingenue Ellis plays his daughter. And because of the mental challenges that Romulus has faced, they are estranged, have a bit of a relationship that is challenging. She's a policeman, and he gets drawn into this situation that he's in. And just the actual scenes between Ellis and Jackson, surprise, surprise, are good scenes. Even though she's young, you can tell Ingenue Ellis already has the chops.
See it.
And they have really good scenes together. There's a scene in particular with the two of them in a car, which just as a scene, I think is the best scene in the movie. And just rounding out the family, maybe my kind of favorite conceit of the family is his wife is alive, but we never see her. We hear her voice. Mm-hmm. What we do see is his imagining of her. Yes. And she is played by Tamara Tooney, a veteran actress, actually doing work now on, I don't know if any of y'all are watching the Black soap opera. My wife is watching the Black soap opera.
The one that's the new one that just started?
Yeah, she plays the matriarch.
Oh, okay.
On Beyond the Gates.
Nice.
And the hallucinated version of her, kind of teasing him, serving as his conscience, serving as a warning system, is really nice too. Mm-hmm. Like, so this family I thought was really great too. And this pocket just around Romulus, his immediate surroundings, his hallucinations, him as a character, I actually really liked. Like I kind of understood why Jackson was drawn to this role in this. I think the real challenge with this film, and it's very much a case of, well, besides that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln, is the plot. Mm-hmm. Like, the actual plot of the film is amazingly convoluted.
Yes.
Where there's a dead body and there's a sort of this sort of downtown art scene that seems like it's ripped from the headlines, and so that it's almost a plot. It felt very 90s Law and Order.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, there's a plot twist where you find out the killer is someone that 35 minutes into the episode, you think it's something going on with that character. Mm-hmm. But then at 50 minutes after the episode, before the final break, you finally get the reveal, mm-hmm. which is not that revealing. And because of that, that kind of weighs the whole thing down.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned Anthony Michael Hall, who plays this side character for plot reasons.
Pretty much.
And it very much feels like when the episode of Romulus comes on, tonight on Romulus.
It does.
With special guest star
Anthony Michael
Hall. Because he's not connected to the plot
at all.
He's just there for these couple of scenes and for plot contrivance.
Yep.
So that while I do think it is a big swing, in a lot of ways, I think it's a miss because it didn't swing enough. Like you have this very sort of pedestrian plot that, again, is drawn from like the 5th season of Law and Order. And that gets in the way of the bit that's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
unfortunately, it's not enough that's interesting to justify that part, the other part of it.
No, you're absolutely right. You hit it right on the head when you said it's got like this Law and Order tone, especially because, you know, the Romulus, he spends most of the film walking around in this big top coat. So
Right.
he's almost like these detectives going on, you know, like making their way on the crime scenes, right? You know, and he's pulling at clues. He's asking for autopsy reports. I'm like, what are we doing? What is this? Is this Cross?
Right.
Like, what are we watching here? Right. So it has that. I think the problem with the story and the script, as you mentioned, is because this is adapted from the book of the same name by the writer of the book,
right,
George Dawes Green. And I think he doesn't know how to write for film, you know, in his screenplay. And I could see that I could see him almost turning it in like this big 300-page script. And they were like, yeah, we're not shooting that.
Right.
So we got to rip out this, we got to rip out that. So much so, like, you've got to telling them, like, you got to show, not tell so much. But he doesn't know how to write for the showing part. So it's just all over the place. It just becomes this huge plot without a lot of the connective tissue that it needs. I also think that Kasi Lemmons, you're right. She makes such an outstanding debut with Eve's Bayou that almost anything is going to pale in comparison. You can't help but pale in comparison. But I think in this film, it is so pedestrian looking. Like the flourishes that you talk about with moving into the fanciful and stuff like that. There are moments where it works and she gets a little experimental. Like there's a love scene that's shot in black and white. That's very beautiful. There are moments where the Tamara Tooney's character is actually there talking to him one-on-one, even though nobody else sees her. But then there are other moments where there's like effect done, and she's because it's a flashback to her, and those are effectively done. But I think for the most part, the crew that she is working with is not on the same skill level with the same level of creativity that she had with Eve's Bayou, so that when she does go to those flourishes, they don't mix well with the tone of everything else,
right? That
looks like it's basically a CBS procedural,
right?
So tonally, it's all over the place. And then, you know, Anjanae Ellis Young still doing great work. Anthony Michael Hall, total plot contrivance, but for what it is, he knows what he's there for, and he's doing his job. He looks a little weird doing it, but he's doing his thing, right?
Well, his agent got him the gig.
Yeah.
He's trying to change it up. It was either this or a spot on the Love Boat.
Exactly. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But I honestly think the other problem here is Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, you don't like him?
And it's not that Samuel L. Jackson's that he's doing bad work. He's not doing bad work. I think there's two things that's wrong here with him in this film. One is I think he's miscast. I don't think that this role fits him. The whole time I'm watching him as Romulus, I'm like, man, I would love to see Forrest Whitaker in this role. And there are probably a few other people that I could have seen in this role. With Samuel L. Jackson, I'm just not really getting it. The other problem with it is that this is 2001. 2001, Samuel Jackson, who famously, really, his star starts to come later in his life.
Yeah.
So in 2001, Samuel L. Jackson is in prime catch-up mode. And he is in everything. everything.
Yes.
He is in every movie. I'm just going to run you through the movies that Samuel Jackson did in a 3-year span around this movie. Now, this movie is in 2001, right? In 1999, Samuel Jackson stars in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Deep Blue Sea. In 2000, he does Rules of Engagement, Shaft, and Unbreakable. And then in 2001, he does The Caveman's Valentine, The 51st State. And then in 2002, he does Changing Lanes, Star Wars Episode 2, Triple X, and No Good Deed. This is the time when Samuel L. Jackson said, nobody is eating but me.
Okay.
The only other person eating at this time is Will Smith and Denzel Washington, because Samuel L. Jackson is taking every role and saying, gimme, 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 regardless of whether or not he is 100% a good fit for this role. Now, does he have a relationship with Kasi Lemmons because of Bayou, where he did great work? Which is what I was
about to say.
He probably does. Is he maybe even possibly throwing her a bone by starring in this because of his name recognition?
And he does help produce it.
And he is one of the producers, even though if you look at the producers list, there's about 18 producers on it.
Right. They probably gave him a piece of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's probably true too. And God bless him for that. And like I said, it's not that he's doing bad work, but I just think that he is a little miscast. And I think because of that, there are moments when he almost slips into Detective Romulus role. Now, I know while he's a homeless person, he's supposed to be, still
this sort of
genius, tortured genius and stuff. But there are moments where he's this tortured genius, and then there's moments where he seems very lucid. And then there are other moments where, and it seems to come out of the blue, where he's all of a sudden doesn't know what's going on. And I get what he's saying.
Yeah, I think that's the character.
I guess I recognize that it is the character, but for some reason, the way that he's playing it, it doesn't feel wholly of a performance. It feels a little bit more piecemeal.
So taking the data that you just gave, and I have to say, I didn't look at the context of where he was in his career. I think I forgot how far along he was by 2001. Like, he's already, as you said, in Star Wars. Do you think part of the issue with Samuel Jackson at this point is he is actually Samuel, he's actually Samuel Jackson.
He's no longer really falling into the role.
So it's like when I mentioned Gator, part of the reason Gator works is because he's not Samuel Jackson yet. Oh, what year is Pulp Fiction?
Oh, that's what, 94, yeah.
Right. I see that. I guess I really liked the way speaking of big swings, I think portraying someone who has mental challenges can go off the rails very easily.
Very true.
And I did like how basically everything that you use to describe the performance, I agree with you, but I liked it. I like the fact that he had this level of dignity, but at the same time, you completely understood why he's estranged from his family.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a moment, while I also, as we've mentioned, didn't really like the Anthony Michael Hall little plot contrivance bit, there is a moment where he circles back, he being Romulus, to their apartment in the middle of a dinner party. And you see that Anthony Michael Hall's character, who's one of these sort of stereotypical, again, Law and Order, downtown New York lawyers, who's kind of using him as a pet or as a little project. And he realizes you've brought a dangerous person in your house. I like that moment. But I hear what you're saying. Like he very much, especially like at one point he shaves, and it's like, oh well, I mean, clearly this is Samuel L. Jackson, a famous person, and I do respect the fact that you didn't mention that ridiculous wig at all.
No, I did not. Well, I mean, hey, the wig is what it was.
Right.
It's what it was. You know what I mean? It's interesting going through his filmography. I'm looking here, and I think really the last kind of like character role that he does for a minute,
where he's not Samuel L. Jackson,
is maybe 1997, Jackie Brown, Ordell.
Yeah, and even then
he's turning.
Even then, like Ordell is such an interesting role because he comes pretty close to stealing the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he is sort of Samuel Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like after that, man, he's pretty much Samuel.
Well, I do wonder if, like you said, he's doing Kasi Lemmons a solid.
Yeah, I mean, he's an executive producer on the film,
right. Like,
so they give him a piece. Because he also had a piece of East Bayou. He was a producer on that as well.
I do say, I don't know if I would go with Forrest Whitaker, because I do think there's a sexiness about Romulus that you don't get with Forrest Whitaker.
That's true. And you have to believe that scene when it does happen.
Right.
Yes,
exactly.
That's very true.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Good point.
But, again.
But I agree ultimately, I think that's the reason why it misses for me. I agree with you that it's a miss, but I just think that those are the reasons why.
See, because I actually just want to get rid of this whole murder plot.
Yeah.
Like, I just want that part to be gone and it just be about these three characters.
And maybe for that, it's
like Samuel
film.
Jackson and his family sort of dealing with him living in this cave.
Now, to that point, though, if someone wanted to resurrect this character,
Lynn Webb, this is exactly
and
where I was headed.
Create the series, the Caveman Murders.
This was 100.
I'll be there all day.
What I was about to say. We have been talking about him on and off for the past few weeks, but maybe not the first thing I would do if I got $1 billion and they put me in charge. But within the first year, I might sit down with Coleman Domingo and say, Caveman's Valentine, the series.
He's too rich.
Coleman Domingo's too rich?
He's too rich for the Caveman's Valentine.
I mean, he has like a show on Prime, like
it's not good.
Like he comes on between like Cross and Reacher.
The Caveman's Valentine.
Right, like Romulus. And like Coleman Domingo plays a crazy homeless dude who solves mysteries.
Man, he's too rich. He may be too old now.
I mean, Romulus is not a young man. He got a grown-ass daughter.
No, but this person may actually be a little bit too old now. And now I just drew a blank on his name.
Ben Vereen?
No, Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, Delroy Lindo. Now, Delroy Lindo in 2001 would have been absolutely
excellent.
Perfect.
Yep.
And you talking about Samuel Jackson stealing everybody's dinner. He stole a lot of food from Delroy Lindo.
Yes.
Like a lot of food.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure Delroy Lindo was walking up. I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry. Samuel just left.
Yeah. Yeah, almost every role in the 90s could have been Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo could have been who's big tall dude who's Allstate.
Oh, Dennis Haysbert?
Dennis
Haysbert's too noble.
That's just because of his voice.
Oh, no, he's big and noble.
You always want to keep it on his lane. I'm sure noble. He could have been the Caveman.
Yeah, but
Valentine.
see, Delroy Lindo and Samuel Jackson are a little sinister.
Well, they are, true.
Yeah, Dennis Haysbert couldn't have been West Indian Archie.
I think he could have. I think he could have walked out of the cave.
Oh no!
Some rocks in New York City. I think he could have done that. He might have scared people.
Yeah,
but he could have walked out of the cave.
Oh my goodness! It's like homeless, and then like the one guy is gay, and it's like, of course he's gay because
of course
it's like a 1995 episode of SVU. It's mistaken identity and. But that image of the angels is one that has stayed. Like, that's actually the only thing that has stayed with me from Caveman's Valentine.
You know who could do Caveman's Valentine, the series?
Who?
And do it well.
Who?
And crush it. Wendell Pierce.
Yeah.
I would love to see him in that different
the funny
speed.
thing is, I was about to say, I don't know if Wendell Pierce could do sexy, but he was sexy in Treme.
Yeah.
I loved him in Treme, and you could tell like he was a little ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Bunk had a little sexiness to him.
Bunk had a little sexiness to him.
Yeah, okay. Wendell Pierce would be good.
Get him out of a suit.
Yeah. Put him in Anthony Michael Hall's suit.
There you go.
Anthony Michael Hall had a suit that could fit Samuel Jackson.
He did.
We're just gonna walk past that. We just gonna go along.
Suspend the belief.
Then I thought the Lime Rickies were gonna mean something.
I know. It was not a good, swing and a miss.
But again,
would you recommend that people see the Caveman's Valentine?
You know, unfortunately, I wouldn't. And it's a shame because I don't think Kasi Lemmons has had the film career that I would have liked her to have had. Like, there aren't as many Kasi Lemmons films.
That's true.
As I would like after Eve's Bayou. And, you know, appropriately enough, I think this may have derailed her a bit.
Yeah, I mean, even though
she's still working.
She's still working.
And she's still doing good work.
She did Talk to Me. She did Black Nativity. We liked Harriet. She did do Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Right.
But, you know, hey, can't all be choosers. But she's still doing good work.
Absolutely.
But you're right. It may have kind of like knocked her off the playing field as one of the up and coming directors to kind of look for.
Yeah, and it's a real shame because again, it's her second film. But no, unfortunately, I would not recommend this film. Yeah, and yourself?
No, I can't. I can't recommend it. I'm sorry. I think that it's it doesn't work. I understand what it's going for.
Yeah,
I get what it's going for. But I think that it doesn't work. I think that the script, the plot is all over the place. Yeah. It's convoluted. I'm not a fan of the lead casting, even though he's not doing bad work. And I think the combination of those two don't do Kasi Lemmons, the director, any favors.
Right.
In pulling together something that really comes together.
You know, it's a shame with a lot of these. I don't know if you have it up. Do you see who wrote the script to Eve's Bayou?
Eve's Bayou was written by Kasi Lemmons.
Yeah, I was about to say, unfortunately, I think a lot of times with these directors who have a clear vision, they have to be really intentional with the entire team. With the entire team. Because, again, I think what we both kind of agree with the most is that the aspects of this film that seem like they let Kasi Lemmons down are not Kasi Lemmons.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know we all kind of subscribe to the auteur kind of definition of film, but film is very collaborative.
Very collaborative.
It's very collaborative. And the screenwriter can knock you off your square.
Most definitely.
So,
and then she follows this up with Talk to Me, which we both loved.
Yeah, and who wrote that? Who?
That was written by Michael Ginnett and Rick Famuyiwa. So she's got
right. I'm not familiar with Michael Ginnett's name, but Rick Famuyiwa is a very skilled
writer.
So
she's she's working there, and so hey, all respect to Kasi Lemmons.
Look, man.
All respect to, honestly, all respect to most of the talent that's involved with Caveman's Valentine, but sometimes things just don't come together.
You know, I have to say, one of my great thrills since, I want to say since Lovecraft Country, but quiet as it's kept, is really since the Clark sisters story. Is me rediscovering Anjanou Ellis in earlier roles.
Oh, nice.
It's like, hey, it's Anjanou Ellis. So it was nice to see her.
It was. Yeah. It was. Because the whole time I'm watching her, I'm looking at her eyes. I'm like, I know her. Yeah. Because I didn't like pay attention to like the cast. I'm like,
yeah. All
right, I see you, baby. I got you. All right.
That's
our review of The Caveman's Valentine.